Subscribe if you're ready to step into the darkest corners of real-life crime, hit like if you can handle the truth, and comment if you think you've seen it all, because this story proves you haven't. The police cruiser was already rolling when the call came in, lights washing the quiet suburban street in red and blue. It wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a shooting. It was a child, 6 years old, standing barefoot on a neighbor's lawn, clutching a torn backpack, whispering a sentence that made the dispatcher go silent. She says she can show us where they keep her. Officer Daniel Reyes slowed as he pulled up to the curb, scanning the street for movement. Perfect lawns. Closed garages. A place that sold itself as safe. The kind of neighborhood where people left doors unlocked and kids rode bikes until sunset. Nothing here looked like it could hide a prison. The girl stood beside a woman who had called 911, her small hands wrapped tightly around each other. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. Her eyes were wide, alert, and older than they should have been. Reyes crouched to her level. "Hey there. I'm Daniel. What's your name?" She hesitated, then spoke softly. "Mia. Do you know where your parents are, Mia?" She nodded. "Yes. I can take you there." That was when Reyes felt the shift. Not fear, urgency. The kind that crawled up your spine and told you this wasn't a misunderstanding or a scared kid who wandered too far from home. This was something else. Mia pointed down the street. "It's not far. But you have to be quiet." Reyes glanced at his partner, Officer Lena Whitaker, who had just arrived. Whitaker had worked missing persons for years. She knew the look. The calm before a storm. The kind of calm kids developed when chaos was normal. They walked. As they moved, neighbors peeked through curtains, curious but unconcerned. Mia led them past trimmed hedges, past a park where swings creaked in the wind, toward a row of older houses backed by thick trees. The air changed there. Heavier. Quieter. She stopped in front of a pale blue house with boarded basement windows and a rusted chain hanging loosely from a side gate. "That's it," Mia said. Whitaker took photos while Reyes knocked. No answer. "Do they know you're gone?" Reyes asked. Mia shook her head. "They don't let me outside." That word, hung in the air. Dispatch ran the address. No active warrants. No missing child report. The house belonged to a couple in their late 30s. No criminal record. No red flags. On paper, it was ordinary. Reality rarely was. Reyes knocked again, louder. Still nothing. Mia tugged at his sleeve. "They're downstairs." "Downstairs where?" Whitaker asked. Mia looked toward the side gate. "Where the door locks from the outside." Whitaker felt her stomach drop. They radioed for backup. Protocol demanded it. So did instinct. When officers arrived, they cut the chain on the gate and followed Mia along a narrow path beside the house. The smell hit them first, stale air, damp concrete, something sour underneath. At the end of the path was a steel door set into the foundation. No windows. Heavy padlock. Scratches along the bottom edge, like something had been pushed against it over and over. Whitaker knelt. "Is this where you sleep?" Mia nodded. "Sometimes. When I'm bad." Reyes signaled to force entry. The lock snapped. The door swung inward. Cold air spilled out. The basement stairs descended into darkness, lit only by a single bulb at the bottom. The walls were bare concrete. No decorations. No toys. No signs of a child's life, except for the marks on the walls. Lines etched at uneven heights. Tallies. 5 weeks. Months. Whitaker counted silently until she lost track. "Mia," Reyes said gently, "stay here with Officer Grant." But Mia didn't move. "You won't forget, right?" Reyes met her eyes. "No." They went down. The basement opened into a single room divided by chain-link fencing. Inside the fenced area sat a thin mattress, a bucket, a plastic cup. The floor was stained. The air was stale enough to sting their throats. Whitaker documented everything. Photos. Measurements. Video. Reyes found the notebook tucked behind the mattress. Pages filled with uneven writing. Not a diary. Rules. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't cry. Don't make noise. Lights out means still. At the bottom, written in shaky pencil. If I'm quiet, I can go upstairs. Footsteps sounded above. "Police!" Reyes shouted. "Come down slowly." A man appeared at the top of the stairs, hands raised, confusion quickly turning to panic when he saw the room. "This isn't what it looks like," he said. Behind him, a woman screamed. Upstairs, officers secured the house. Bedrooms that looked normal. A kitchen stocked with food. A fridge covered in magnets and grocery lists. A life that existed parallel to the one below. Detectives arrived within the hour. Child Protective Services followed. The story unfolded piece by piece, each layer worse than the last. Mia wasn't reported missing because she had never been registered for school. She had no medical records beyond infancy. No neighbors had seen her because she was never allowed outside. The adults told people they didn't have children. They told Mia she was sick, that the world was dangerous, that the basement was protection. But protection didn't need locks on the outside. Investigators searched the rest of the basement. Behind a false wall, they found another space. Smaller. Darker. No light bulb at all. Whitaker stared at it, heart pounding. "Daniel, look at this." Inside were blankets folded tight. Another bucket. More scratches on the wall. This one higher. As if someone older had been there too. Records showed no other children listed at the address. But the evidence suggested otherwise. Someone had been here before Mia. Someone who never led police back. As crime scene tape wrapped the house, Mia sat in the back of an ambulance, sipping juice, wrapped in a thermal blanket. A paramedic asked her how she knew to go to the neighbor. She answered simply, "They said if I ever got out, no one would believe me." She looked up. "So I showed them." And when detectives pried open the locked storage room beneath the stairs, what they found inside would turn this case from rescue into a race to uncover a truth far more disturbing than anyone was prepared for. By sunrise, the house no longer looked like a home. Crime scene tape cut it off from the rest of the neighborhood like a quarantine line. Vans from state investigators lined the curb. A media helicopter circled once before being forced away. Inside, every sound echoed, boots on hardwood, radios crackling, camera shutters snapping, each one reminding the officers that whatever this place had been pretending to be was over. Detective Mara Holloway arrived just after dawn. She had spent 20 years working crimes involving children, long enough to know that the quiet ones were always the worst. She didn't rush. She walked the perimeter, studied the windows, the doors, the way the house sat slightly lower on its foundation, as if it had been built to hide something beneath it. She went straight to the basement. The storage room under the stairs was small, barely tall enough for an adult to stand. The door had been disguised behind shelves of cleaning supplies. When officers forced it open the night before, the smell alone had confirmed their fears. Holloway stepped inside now, flashlight sweeping the walls. There were no chains. No dramatic restraints. Just a space designed to erase someone. A thin mattress. Scratches at shoulder height. Faint writing carved into the concrete, almost worn away. Holloway traced it with her glove until the letters made sense. "Please don't forget me." She closed her eyes. Upstairs, the suspects sat in separate rooms. The man, Evan Cole, kept insisting there had been a misunderstanding. The woman, Rachel Cole, had stopped speaking altogether. She stared at the floor, jaw clenched, rocking slightly, as if repeating something in her head. Holloway started with Evan. He was calm at first. Too calm. He spoke in rehearsed sentences, explaining how Mia was troubled, how the basement was a timeout space, how the locks were for safety. He insisted they were protecting her from a world that would hurt her. Holloway slid photos across the table. Tallies on the wall. Then opened the storage room. "Who was here before her?" she asked. Evan blinked. "Just once." Then he shook his head. "No one. Those markings weren't made by a 6-year-old. She's strong for her age." Holloway leaned forward. "You don't get to lie about physics." His calm cracked. Just slightly. Rachel's interview was different. She didn't deny the basement existed. She didn't deny the locks. She denied responsibility. "He told me it was temporary," she whispered. "He said it was discipline. That it would make her better." "And the other child?" Holloway asked. Rachel flinched. Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. I never saw him. That answer chilled Holloway more than a confession would have. Records search began immediately. Property permits. Utility usage. Renovation history. The basement had been modified 5 years earlier. Electrical work, reinforced walls, soundproof insulation. All legally permitted. All explained as storage improvements. Neighbors were canvassed again. This time, the questions were sharper. Did you ever hear noises at night? Did you ever see anyone else? Did anything seem off? At first, the answers were the same. Then one woman hesitated. There were deliveries, she said. Years ago. Medical supplies. I thought maybe someone was sick. Another neighbor remembered a boy. Or thought she did. Thin. Gone before anyone learned his name. Missing children databases were searched nationwide. No immediate matches. That was the problem. Whoever had been here before Mia wasn't officially missing. Just gone. Mia was taken to a children's advocacy center. Doctors confirmed what officers already suspected without needing details. Prolonged confinement, malnutrition, stress responses far beyond her age. Still, she spoke clearly. Carefully. They said I was invisible, she told a social worker. That no one looks for invisible kids. Holloway listened from behind the glass. Did anyone else stay in the basement with you? The social worker asked gently. Mia shook her head. Not with me. Before you? Mia hesitated. Then nodded. He was quiet. Quieter than me. What was his name? She swallowed. They told me not to say it. Why? They said names make people real. Holloway felt anger burn behind her ribs. Controlled. Focused. Useful. Forensics returned to the house with ground-penetrating radar. The backyard had been freshly landscaped 2 years earlier. New sod. Decorative stones. A small garden bed placed too neatly to be random. The scan lit up with anomalies. A pit was uncovered behind the fence line. Not deep. Not hidden well enough to fool anyone who was truly looking. Inside were fragments, fabric, personal items, bones too small to belong to an adult. The scene went silent. Evan Cole's story collapsed under the weight of evidence. Rachel broke completely when confronted with the findings. She confessed to knowing there had been another child. A boy Evan claimed he was helping. A boy who had no last name, no paperwork, no future. He stopped moving one day, she said through sobs. Evan said it was an accident. He said calling anyone would destroy everything. Did you believe him? Holloway asked. Rachel didn't answer. Charges escalated. Kidnapping. Unlawful imprisonment. Abuse. Homicide. Federal authorities joined the case. So did child trafficking investigators. That was when the phone records came back. Evan had been in contact with multiple unregistered numbers over the years. Short calls. Encrypted apps. Messages wiped clean. Payments disguised as donations. This wasn't isolation. It was a system. Investigators followed the trail outward, away from the house, away from the suburb that wanted desperately to forget what had lived in its center. Each lead suggested the same thing. Evan hadn't just hidden children. He had passed them through. Mia hadn't led police to a single prison. She had cracked the door on something much bigger. And as detectives prepared arrest warrants for others connected to the network, one final discovery forced them to act faster than they ever had before, because another address, hundreds of miles away, had just gone that. The house was sealed, but the damage it had done kept spreading outward. When the second address went dark, investigators didn't wait for paperwork to catch up. The location was a rented property outside a shrinking factory town, 3 states away. Power cut abruptly. No phone activity. No forwarding address. Just silence where there shouldn't have been any. State police arrived first. Then federal agents. Then child services. The door was unlocked. Inside, the house looked staged, almost clean enough to be comforting. Empty bedrooms. Fresh paint. New locks. The basement, though, told the truth immediately. Soundproofing. Reinforced beams. A small camera mounted high in the corner, its feed long since wiped. No children were found. But the evidence proved something worse. Whoever had been here had been moved recently and intentionally. That discovery shifted the case from rescue to pursuit. Evan Cole was transferred to federal custody the same night. The calm he had worn like armor was gone now. He knew the scope had changed. This wasn't just about one girl or even two children buried behind a fence. It was about exposure. In the interrogation room, Holloway sat across from him again. This time, she didn't bring photos. She brought timelines, addresses, payments, names redacted but connected. "You didn't build this alone," she said. "And you're not important enough to protect the people above you." Evan smiled faintly. "You think I was at the top? I think you were replaceable." That smile vanished. Rachel Cole was moved to protective custody after her confession became public. She was no longer a co-conspirator in the public eye. She was a liability, the kind people distance themselves from quietly. Her final statement clarified what investigators feared most. There were more houses. Not many. Enough. Each one designed the same way. Ordinary from the outside. Modified within. Temporary holding. Children who didn't officially exist, moved between locations until they stopped being useful or stopped surviving. No names. No records. Just instructions. The network unraveled slowly, then all at once. Bank accounts were frozen. Couriers were arrested. One man vanished before he could be questioned, leaving behind a burned-out vehicle and a phone smashed beyond recovery. Another turned state's evidence and confirmed what no one wanted to say out loud. Mia hadn't been targeted randomly. She had been tested. They wanted to see if she could break. Instead, she walked out the front door and spoke. Her testimony was handled carefully. Closed courtrooms. No cameras. No headlines with her face. She drew pictures instead. Houses with stairs that led nowhere. Doors with no handles. Tallies scratched into walls by hands that shook. She remembered the boy. Not his name. Just his voice. "He used to tell me stories so I wouldn't forget how words worked," she said. "He said if I remembered stories, I could remember myself." Those words became the foundation of the case. Evan Cole pleaded not guilty. His defense argued mental illness, misinterpretation, overreach. It collapsed under the weight of evidence recovered from encrypted servers overseas. Messages. Instructions. Proof that the system had been designed to avoid patterns, but had failed to account for one thing. Children talk. And when they survive, they remember. The trial didn't last long. The verdict was unanimous. Life without parole, federal facility, no contact, no transfers. Evan showed no emotion when it was read. Just a brief tightening of his jaw, as if calculating something he could no longer change. Rachel received a reduced sentence in exchange for cooperation. She will spend decades in prison. She will never be free of what she allowed. The other houses were raided. Some were empty. Some weren't. Not all the children survived. That truth never made it into a single headline, but it changed every investigator involved. It changed the way child welfare agencies shared data. It changed how invisible children were classified. And it changed Mia's future. She was adopted by a family whose names were sealed by the court. She learned how to sleep in rooms without locks. How to trust doors that opened both ways. How to exist without counting days on concrete walls. Years later, when asked what she remembered most, she didn't talk about the basement. She talked about the moment outside the house. "The sun was too bright," she said. "I thought it wasn't real at first." Somewhere, a system that believed secrecy was protection collapsed because a child refused to stay invisible. They thought the prison was hidden forever. They were wrong. And if you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one.